Welcome to the Connect Your Health to Life coaching podcast. I'm your host, Seth Lusk. I'm a master certified self-image coach and empowered health coach with a decade-long background working in the health and wellness industry. If you're anything like me or the clients that I work with, then you're probably struggling with body image, self-image, or confidence issues. You're probably also trying to figure out why it is that you have these amazing desires for living your healthiest and most fulfilling life, but you can't seem to create consistent actions in your life to reflect those desires. So join me as we dive in deep on what it means to live a fulfilled and authentic life. We're going to look from the perspective of an empowered mindset and uncover reasons why you might be what's holding yourself back from living your most fulfilling life. I'm going to break through some of the biggest illusions and myths that we've all been taught to believe along the way. And I'm so excited to have you with me on this journey. So my only question for you is, are you ready to start living your most authentic and fulfilling life once and for all? Then let's get started, shall we? Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. For those of you listening in for the first time, welcome. You picked an interesting episode to listen in on this week, one that is a topic that I'm very passionate about. All of the topics that I do on the podcast I'm very passionate about, and I think all of them are very interesting topics. This one in particular is one that I talk about quite often, and so I'm excited to do an entire episode focusing on this and trying to get you all a little bit clearer on what it is that I'm talking about when I bring this topic up so often. A lot of times you guys might be like, what in the world is he even talking about? And some of you might be thinking right now, what is he even talking about? So if you haven't listened in on my social media this week, on my Instagram, my Facebook, or my Facebook group, then you might not know what the topic is for this week, but we're talking about the difference between essence and form. So that's what we're going to talk about today. If you're not following me on social media, I do recommend that you go over to my Instagram page and my Facebook page. I also have a free Facebook group, and join, because usually during the week, the podcast episode topic that I bring up is also what I talk about on my social media for the week. So if you enjoy this podcast, you will also enjoy the insights that I put throughout the week on my social media that kind of lead up to the podcast. And then after the podcast is released every Thursday, I give you all sort of a little bit more information after the podcast is released to sort of summarize. So it's always a great idea to follow me also on social media if you want to get more insight, more information, more support from me as a coach to you that is free in helping you to understand the topics that we're talking about on the podcast. So, that being said, essence versus form. Guys, I talk about this all of the time with you, about how essence, or the essence of what we want, is the important thing to pay attention to when we're going after a goal in life. And I always use the word essence and form. And I always say how paying attention to the essence, attaching to the essence, is more important than us attaching to the form. I want to be clear before I go into this episode that I am by no means saying that we do not want to have a clearly formed picture of the form of our goals in our mind. I want to preface this entire episode with that. So if you're thinking that this episode is about me saying, oh, we don't need to have a form in mind, or that form is completely irrelevant, it's bad, I'm not trying to say that. We're not going black or white here. As usual, the solution is somewhere in the middle. And we're going to talk about how form is a useful tool, and also essence is a useful tool, and how form can be misused in a way where it becomes something that hinders its purpose as a tool. So we want to have a clear picture of what we believe our goals will look like when we achieve them. That is the form. And this is a tool that we can use to help our minds in creating very clear action steps and motivating energies when going after our goals. So we want to be able to picture the form of our goal in our head, and we want to be able to do it very clearly. And this is a very powerful tool. But as with all tools, when it's misused, it can hinder the intended purpose of the tool, and it can even work against its own purpose when it's misused. So before I go into actually defining what form and essence are, I want to talk about something from last week's episode. Remember, last week we talked about rigid versus uncompromising beliefs. Uncompromising beliefs are what we are looking for instead of rigid beliefs. Uncompromising beliefs are the ones that support us in going after our goals, even when the actions might fall outside of the boundaries of our current belief. And so we want to sort of flex and change the belief so that it allows us first to continue taking action towards our goals. And what I want you to remember when we talked about the uncompromising beliefs versus the rigid beliefs is that an uncompromising belief, why it works so well, is that it's rooted in our why, not the how. And here, what we're talking about today, essence versus form, essence is not rooted in the how or the what. It stays rooted in our why as well. Guys, I don't know if you've noticed a theme here in most of the things I talk about with you all as a coach. And Mike Iamelli actually brought it up the other week when he was on and we were talking about the topic of sex and everything and sexual identity, our sexual desires. And he brought it up. I say it over and over again. The word why, my friends, is so important. It is so important. And when things are rooted in our why, that is the key to us becoming unstoppable in our life and in creating actions towards our goals. So you may be wondering what why has to do with form, the form of our goal versus the essence. And I'm going to get into that in just a bit here. But first, like I said, I want to get clear on what essence is and what form is so we can understand everything that I'm clarifying here today. I don't want it to be more confusing for you all. So let's start off with defining the word essence. So the definition for the word essence is the intrinsic nature or indispensable quality of something, especially something abstract which determines its character. So within that definition, I want to define a couple more words. So what does intrinsic mean? Intrinsic means belonging naturally to or essentially to. So the nature of something that belongs to something naturally or it's essential to, the intrinsic nature. Okay, so indispensable means absolutely necessary. The essence is, again, the intrinsic nature or indispensable quality. So it's an absolutely necessary quality. Now, what is nature? Nature is the basic or inherent features, characters, or qualities of something. Okay? So when we talk about the intrinsic nature, we're talking about the essential inherent features, characters, or qualities of something. All right, so what is a quality? A quality is a distinctive attribute or characteristic possessed by someone or something. Okay, so now we can understand what essence is. Essence is something that is typically intangible. So for instance, the essence of a person, it's not going to be their body, it's not going to be their face, it's going to be the feeling that you get around them, the memories that you have of the energy that they put off, or the things that they did in their life, what they meant to you, or what they stood for in life. That would be a person's essence. What's really fascinating about this when we talk about a person's essence, or actually anything's essence, is that a person's essence can be different based on who is attempting to describe the essence of that person or thing. So it's really kind of cool to think about. Like, I wonder how many different essences of me actually exist in the world. It's kind of cool to think about when you think about all the people you encounter and the way that they might have encountered you, the energy that they may have taken from you, and what they think you contribute to the world. It's kind of interesting to think about. But anyways, so let's go on to talking about form now. So we've defined essence and what essence is. So form is the visible shape. This is the definition of the word form. It's the visible shape or configuration of something, or a particular way in which a thing exists or appears to exist. So what is the word configuration? What does that mean? A configuration is an arrangement of parts or elements in a particular form, figure, or combination. Let's define the word exists. And I know that may sound so basic, but I think we need to know the definition here. Exist means to have objective reality or being. The word appear is also in the definition of form. So a particular way in which a thing exists or appears. So what does the word appear mean? It means to come into sight, become visible, to seem or give the impression of being. Okay, so when we talk about form, form is what we accept as being the objective physical form of something. And I want you to pay attention to the fact that we use the word objective here. Even though the form, the existence of something, or how we accept the physical form of something is still a bit subjective. So when we select a form of something, we are limiting its existence to how we choose to see it. And that's not entirely a bad thing. So I don't want you to think that I'm saying this is a bad thing. There's a reason why we do this. A lot of times it's for the sake of our mind's efficiency to be able to live life and for social efficiency. So for us to be able to communicate ideas and thoughts and things with other people in a way that they can understand. But I think it's also important that we keep in mind that form is always a bit subjective. I think it could also help us a lot in communicating when someone else may have a slightly different idea of the form of something in their head. So when we talk about, for instance, the form of, let's say, a tree, someone who lives in one country, when you say tree, they picture something completely different than someone else. So someone else may see something as small as what someone else might call a bush as being a tree. And so there could be a big miscommunication between these two people when they're talking about a tree, because one person sees a tree as being one thing, and one person sees what the other person is thinking is a tree is actually a bush. So there could be some miscommunication. I think it's important for us to recognize this, that form is us limiting the existence of something, but that's not entirely bad, and it's good that we understand this. It's good that we see this because it can open up our ability to communicate more clearly with people, and when there is miscommunication, we know what sort of questions to ask and where to look to create that clarity and to create better communication. Anyways, so back to the topic of essence versus form. So this is important to understand that we accept physical form of something or how we see something as existing for the sake of efficiency, not because it is inherently or objectively fact, which means that we can change how we accept to look at something when the efficiency of having accepted it in the way that we have been accepting it no longer serves us for our goals, or that it becomes inefficient for our goals in life. So for instance, and this is going to be a bit abstract, so stick with me here, I'm going to give you an example. Okay, so I have a car, and I can look at this car as the type of car that it is, because I use it for the car that it is to get from point A to point B. I can also call it by its make or model. So for instance, it's a Ford Mondeo. I can call it by the year and even go more in detail. So it's a 2020 Ford Mondeo hybrid. And in certain social circles, for efficiency, this would serve its purpose because those social circles may know about models and makes of cars and years and all of this stuff. And somehow this information may be more relevant to them or valid for them. So in certain social circumstances, it would be efficient for me to use all of that information to describe the car. However, in other social situations, maybe this information is not fully understood or it's not relevant. So I wouldn't use this information to talk about the form of my car. Now let's break that down even further. So our car is a hybrid. So let's imagine in the future that gas cars become completely obsolete. Okay, well, because our car is a hybrid, part of our car uses gas. So if gas cars become obsolete, gas may become scarce, and people, so gas becomes too expensive. So we want to sell our car, but people aren't really buying gas cars because gas cars are becoming obsolete and therefore gas is becoming too expensive. So when we go to sell the car, it may no longer be efficient for me to look at my car as the form of a car. Let me explain. I would need to sell it for its individual parts to be able to make money off of the car because no one wants gas cars anymore. So at this time, the car ceases to exist in my mind as the form of a car. For the brand, the model, the type, the year, whatever. It is now in my mind a collection of parts to sell. So the form is no longer a car. It is a collection of parts for me to sell. I'm no longer selling a car. I am selling a collection of parts that could be used for other things. And when we look at the gas motor, okay, well, gas motors are now obsolete. So seeing it as a gas motor, that form no longer serves an efficient purpose in me trying to sell this car because gas motors are now obsolete. So I can now look at the engine as no longer being an engine, but being a collection of metal pieces that are still able to be sold by being melted down and reused. So this just gives you an example of what I mean when I talk about the fact that form is not 100% objective. I can either look at this as a 2020 Ford Mondeo hybrid. I could look at it as just being a car. I could look at it as being a collection of parts that I need to sell. I could look at it as being pieces of metal that can be melted down and sold and reused to make other parts. It's all still the same thing, but how I'm objectively looking at it or subjectively looking at it changes, and therefore the form of it changes in my mind. Okay, so it depends on why I'm looking at the thing that determines the form that I'm going to want to use it, or see it as, that will be more efficient for me. I think this may be still a bit abstract, but I think using this example makes it a bit clearer when I'm talking about the difference between essence and form, and how form is not 100% objective. So I could look at this and say this is a 2020 Ford Mondeo hybrid. Okay, but if I could also look at it as being a collection of parts to be sold, which one is it actually? It's both. It's both. So form is not completely objective. It can be subjective according to why I'm looking at the thing and what goal I'm trying to accomplish by looking at the thing. Therefore, the form can change. Okay, so back to this idea again where we're looking at uncompromising beliefs and how they're rooted in the why and not the how or the what. So you may be wondering, what does this have to do with form or essence? What does the why have to do with form or essence, and why are we going back to looking at uncompromising beliefs? So here's the fun part. Here we go. When we set goals for ourselves, we can picture ourselves having already achieved the goal. And in fact, I encourage people to do this. We can picture it with such great and intense detail. And as I said before, this is such a powerful tool and exercise to do. So we have this picture in our head of us already having achieved the goal. That's part of the goal setting process and setting how we're going to do it. So say it's your dream house, your dream job, your dream office, your dream vacation, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. So we use this picture of the form to create a vivid image in our mind of what it's going to look like once we've already achieved it. And then our mind goes to work to create action steps around that picture of how we got there and the feelings that we're going to feel having achieved the goal. What feelings are we going to feel? We're picturing it so vividly we can feel ourselves having already achieved this goal. So you may be wondering, how do we get to the essence once we have this vivid picture of the form? What exactly is it going to look like? And how did I get there? Okay, so how do you get to the essence? You ask yourself this. Why do I want that? The form, the picture in your head. Why is it that you want that? The answer you will get, my friends, if you really dig deep, it's going to be a feeling. And it's going to be attached to values of yours that you have in life, core values of yours. That's going to be the answer that you come to. Maybe it's a feeling of freedom. So maybe the goal of yours was to have your own big house. So maybe it's a feeling of freedom. Maybe it's a feeling of being accomplished, a feeling of being proud or secure, or maybe it's a combination of a lot of feelings and some core values attached to it. And oftentimes that's what it is. But my friends, what is important to notice here is that the reason why you want to achieve the goal is to feel a feeling, and these feelings are attached to values that you want to create more of in life, that you are aligned with in life. This is really important to recognize. It's so important to recognize. So maybe this will help bring it home a little bit if I tell you about one of my goals in life. One of my biggest goals is that I want to create an international coaching firm that helps millions of people to begin to awaken to their full power and to start living their lives intentionally, authentically, healthy, and to start leading these lives that are so fulfilling with unconditional love. That is the base of their life. And I want that business to be working with and hiring thousands of other coaches worldwide to accomplish this goal, because I want my business to bridge cultural barriers. And I want to accomplish bridging these cultural barriers between other people. I want my business to begin to create understanding between cultures as people wake up to who they truly are at the core of who they are. Not just the clothes that they wear, the beliefs they have, the behaviors that they have, where they grew up, and the religions, the politics. Behind all of that, the core of who they are. As they wake up to that they're therefore able to see other people the same way, even though they may appear different from them on the outside. I want to use this business to create more peace and understanding in the world by waking up one soul, one heart, one human at a time around the world, and equip each and every one of these people to live such an authentic, fulfilled, and unconditional love-based life that they are so inspired to live these lives that those around them become inspired to do the same. And then I want to watch that ripple around the world and start healing humanity on this planet. That is my goal. I am inspiring people and other coaches. I am living and learning what I awaken other people to live and learn. I am at peace and open with life. And as I tell you this, I can literally feel the energy in my body. Like my skin is tingling and I can feel like my insides, they're vibrating as I'm describing this to you all. I can feel this intense joy, this excitement, this love, this peace, this abundance. It's just, my whole body fills up with it. I can feel that. And my friends, I can picture in my head these coaches, and I can see the love in their eyes as they work one-on-one with people, as they stand up in front of large groups and do these seminars. I can picture millions of people as they wake up to their inner power and love and begin releasing their pain, shame, guilt, and suffering. I can see faces. I can feel the release of these things. I can feel the rising of the energy of love and abundance around the world. And I can picture the buildings that these coaches are going to be working in, that my business creates for them as infrastructure to work out of and to provide coaching around the world. I can see the auditoriums that are full of audiences of people wanting to wake up to this truth. I can see the small rooms where coaches work one-on-one with people. I can see the nature retreats where my coaches show other people how to reconnect with nature and themselves and to become present again with life. I can see the mobile coaching buses and trailers that travel around the world and go into these areas of the world that lack the infrastructure. And we use these buses and these trailers to bring the infrastructure to these areas and reach out to the people there with these same messages of love and empowerment. I can see all of this in my head, and I can go into so much detail. And the more detail I go in, I can even create more and more and more. But my friends, this picture excites me, true. But what I'm after is that feeling. What I'm truly trying to create here in all of that is that feeling of spreading unstoppable love, empowerment, awakening, freedom, abundance, connection. That feeling of contributing, that feeling of opening something up to the world so great and powerful that it echoes through humanity for decades, for generations to come. That's the feeling that I'm after. That is what I am after here. So why is this important to understand? Why is essence important to understand? And why is that so important to attach to instead of form? Why is this so important to focus on in the process of going after our goals? My friends, we live in a time where we have such a powerful example of why, and it's so beautiful that it has shown up at this time. And I know maybe some of you might be upset that I'm calling this beautiful, but it is a beautiful example that we have had the opportunity to face this in life. Not every generation of humans in this world has faced this. I'm talking about the pandemic, my friends. We have such a powerful example of why this is important in that pandemic. You see, the pandemic showed all of us how quickly form of something can be changed or taken away. I'm talking about jobs lost, businesses falling apart and closing, Here in Switzerland, where I live, many types of businesses, like I'm talking about restaurants, bars, stores that were not considered essential, and gyms, they had to close for a long time. And laws limited the number of people that were allowed to gather in specific locations for specific events. Concerts were canceled and moved online. Work moved online. School moved online. Meetings moved online. My friends, the form of many things in life as we knew it prior to the pandemic, it changed just like that. Just like that. And my friends, this is a powerful and beautiful example of how life works. And for so many people, because of their attachment to form, there was a lot of anxiety, a lot of immobilizing fear and anger and depression, a lot of emotional reactivity in the form of emotional eating, drinking, binge watching on television, drug usage, and sadly even suicide. People choosing to give up on everything, including their lives, because the circumstances appeared hopeless to them in their perspective. And my friends, this is something that I want to help solve for in this world, which is why we're learning about this today. Because this pandemic showed us so much about how important it is for us to stop attaching our purpose and our life and our value to form. So here is what is important to see in this worldwide and monumentous event called the pandemic, the COVID virus pandemic that is happening within our lifetime. Life showed us all that the form of anything, it can change and be taken away. And we have zero control over that. This isn't the first time we've been shown this, but this one is something that impacted worldwide, which is why I say it's so beautiful and powerful that it happened in our lifetime. Because we've had examples of this throughout our lives, but we keep ignoring it. Hurricanes taking out entire cities and beaches, earthquakes doing the same, tsunamis doing the same. And now we have this pandemic taking out lives, changing how we go about living the lives that are still here. You see, my friends, form is not guaranteed, nor do we have control of it. And life is showing us that through this pandemic, and it showed us that all along, but especially over the last 2 years, it's been trying to get this message across to us. And if you didn't hear the lesson, then consider this episode, if you're listening in, that alarm clock that is waking you up to the fact that, my friends, form is never guaranteed in life. It never has been, and it never will be. And until we hear that and we truly let that sink in and learn that lesson, there's more suffering to come from this. So my friends, that's why we're talking about this today. Because there's relief in this message once we learn about essence. Once we learn how to attach ourselves to that. That is the other lesson that life has been trying to wake us all up to over the last 2 years, is that yes, form can be taken away, but essence, the essence of life and what we're creating in life, that can never be taken away. So when we attach ourselves to form, what we see people doing through this pandemic and in other really tragic events that we've seen happen in life, when we attach ourselves to form, what we see people doing when life is life, we see people feeling angry. We see people feeling scared, betrayed, and hopeless, and then not just feeling those things, but reacting to those emotions, becoming hopeless. But you see, when people choose to see the essence of their life and what they were creating, and they attach to that, and what's amazing is we saw this happen during the pandemic. We saw people step up with peace and strength and courage and solutions and support during this pandemic. We saw people pivot and change their how they were going to create the essence of what they were creating in life. And then they stepped up with solutions of how to move forward. Sure, there was still fear there and uncertainty. I'm not saying these people didn't have fear and uncertainty because somehow they're better than anybody else. No, we're all capable of doing this. The difference was that there was fear and uncertainty there for them too, but they chose to act in their courage, in their joy, and their empowerment anyways, because they were focusing on the essence of their life, the essence of what they were there to create, not the form. And they weren't doing this in resistance to their fear and uncertainty, but with fear and uncertainty. So I want to be clear here, in situations like this one, like the pandemic that appear tough, When we see people giving up and other people rising to the occasion, the people that rose to the occasion are no better than anybody else. That's not what I'm saying here. And I'm also not saying that people that rose to the occasion just got over and ignored their fear, ignored the challenge, ignored the chaos. No, what I'm saying is that they looked at that fear. They looked at it dead on and they got curious about it. They looked at that uncertainty and they leaned in. They looked at that chaos and they said, yes, I choose it. They looked at that discomfort and said, bring that to me. And then they chose to see it all as opportunity to learn, to grow, and to look at the essence of life. When all of the certainty and the form was taken away, they chose this as being the opportunity to look deeper and find the essence of what they were creating in life. And then they stepped up with courage and created new forms of how to create those things and to take action and create solutions. This is the difference, my friend. And this is how this applies to how we go after goals in life. So when I create a goal for myself, I can have a clear image of me achieving that goal and what it will look like in my imagination. There will be a lot of form involved in that vision, and this is 100% okay. In fact, I want you to do that. But beside that vision, beside that form, I want there to also be a clear essence. What are the values aligned with that vision? What are the feelings you're going to feel and that you're wanting to feel? And what I want you to do is attach to those feelings, those values, not the picture of the form, even though that picture is vivid and exciting, and we're going to use it to motivate us. We're going to use it to create very clear action steps forward. And then the moment the form has to change, guess what we can do? We can pivot. We can use those values, those feelings to create a new picture and new steps. My friends, this in coaching is what we call high involvement, low attachment. That's the term that we use in the coaching circle. And what this means is that we see our vision very clearly. We picture it very clearly, and we actively go after that vision with intensity and decisive, highly involved action steps that we have created with intention. But we do it with the understanding that the form of what we are going after, that is not 100% guaranteed in the end, and that doesn't matter. So even though I see it, and even though I'm using this vision as motivation and to create energy, to create the steps that I'm going to take to move towards that vision that I have already created and I'm learning how I did it, I don't get attached to that vision as being the indicator of my success or whether or not I keep going forward. So let me clear this up a bit. So I have an end goal. Let's say that I have an end goal to make $1 million. And I have that goal to make it in a year. So I picture myself making that $1 million a year in my head. I see what it looks like. I feel what it feels like when I've already done it. I'm picturing this in my head. I've created the vision. I can feel the feeling. I can see myself having done it. I can see myself standing in my office. I can see what my apartment looks like. I can feel all of the feelings that I'm feeling. So I've got that picture, and I work backward from there to where I currently am standing, and I say, how did I do that? How did I do that? And I create the action steps to how I made that $1 million, and then I execute. And I do everything in my plan. And say at the end of the year, I hit $950,000. So I did not make $1 million. Okay? So if I'm attached to the form of that goal, I might say, well, I didn't hit the goal. I failed. I must not know how to do this. I might diminish my work. I might diminish myself and my value for not having accomplished the goal. Or I might say, obviously, I'm stupid. I don't know how to create a plan to go after a goal because it didn't work. Or, here's the thing. If I know the why that I went after the $1 million, then I know the essence of it. And I look at the fact that I wanted to make this $1 million because I wanted to feel something. Maybe what I wanted to feel was what it would feel like to take actions until the very end of the year, no matter what, just knowing I'm going to make that $1 million. Stick to the plan, take the next step, and I want to have that feeling of unstoppability. I want to have that feeling of that I have my back no matter what, and trusting myself to show up until the very last second of the year with that passion, that action, that courage, that trust, and that ability to create that goal. Guess what? I made $950,000. And I felt everything that I wanted to feel. So the question is, did I accomplish it? Did I accomplish my goal? I would say yes. I accomplished the essence of my goal. And guess what I can do? Because I accomplished the essence of my goal, and I know I'm able to do that, I can show up next year. I can show up next year with a new plan. I can look at what I did the year before and I can say, hey, okay, so that didn't make the $1 million, but guess what? I showed up for myself like a badass. Till the very last second, I did everything I could to make that $1 million. Did I make the $1 million? No, but that doesn't matter because I know that I'm able to follow through with a plan, and I know that I'm going to have my back until the end, and I know that I will take massive, intense, and powerful actions until the end, no matter what. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to look at the steps that I did. I'm going to see what I can try different this next year, and I'm going to do it again. And this year, I'm going to make the $1 million. And I do it again, and I do it again, and I do it again, until guess what? 1 year, I make that $1 million. You see, my friends, knowing the essence and attaching to the essence of the goal is what makes you unstoppable in your life. It makes you unstoppable because no matter what you create at the end, it wasn't about the result. Your value, the value of the time you spent, the value of the effort you put in is not attached to that result. It's attached to the essence of what you wanted to feel. And you felt that the entire way, and you did that. You created that in your life by going after that goal fearlessly, fiercely, and unstoppably. So you may be wondering, how do you create a clear picture of form and not attached to it? So maybe we should get clear on looking at what it means to be attached to something. Attaching ourselves or our identity to something. And I think what would be important first to look at is to define the word attach. So the word attach, the definition is to associate, especially as a property or an attribute of something. Okay, I know so many people who are result focused, who see if I didn't get the result, then I just wasted my time, I failed, what did I do? And I see so many people who obsess about the form and the details, and they believe that if they don't obsess about the form and the details, that it makes the plan weak or the action weak. And it means that we're not committed to the goal if we change the form of the goal or how we go about it. I've heard this being argued before with business coaches or very highly motivated people who call themselves high achievers, high earners, whatever. They obsess over the form and they teach others to obsess over it and attach their success to those forms. And here's the thing. For some people, life happens and the actions that they take are just right and it creates the exact form that they wanted. That's life. That will happen for some people. But also life, as the pandemic has shown us, there's chaos. There's unpredictability. Those are both always possible. So here's the thing. If we teach people to attach and obsess over form and to attach themselves to the fact that you have to create this form to have been successful, to be valuable in going after your goals, to be worthy in going after your goals. So what this means is that if life happens and the form changes, chaos happens, unpredictability happens, and they don't reach the form, they've attached themselves, their worthiness, their identity, their ability to go after goals, their opinion of themselves, their worth is conditional upon something that is ultimately not within their control. And because of that, and because they've attached themselves to that thing that is not within their control, they create a lot of emotional inner suffering and issues with their identity and issues with their conditional worth. You see, when we attach ourselves to the form of a goal, and at the end of the time frame that we give ourselves for that goal, The form is not exactly what we ended up creating. Our very identity is then associated with the form of this being ours. That's what happens when we attach ourselves to the form. And I want to be clear about something. First of all, nothing in life is ever really ours. And I know that's deep and philosophical, but I need you to start thinking about that. Nothing in life is ever yours. We use it in this life. Sure, we have possession over it for a certain amount of time. But if it was yours when you died, it would leave with you, but it doesn't. It is never ours to have exclusively. And I know that some of you will argue about this when it comes to relationships, and that's another discussion to have. But yes, this also applies to relationships. Nothing in this life is yours to have. So if a thing in this life is never ours, and we attach ourselves to its form as our goal, we become identified with it as being ours and being a part of us, and therefore an attribute of our worth. So our worth becomes conditional on the form of the thing in life being ours. So our worth is conditional on us accomplishing it. But then it doesn't stop there. Even if you accomplish it, here's the thing. Even if you accomplish the goal, and you have the thing in your possession for a period of time in life, your whole identity and worth is attached to you being able to keep it as yours in your life because you're attached to the form. So then, even though you accomplish the goal, now guess what? You're going to obsess about all of the ways which you could possibly lose it. Something that isn't yours anyway, so of course it's a possibility to lose it. And then you're going to spend your life at this point trying to defend yourself from losing it so that your self-worth doesn't diminish with the loss of it. And guess what, my friends? This destroys motivation in people. And it destroys our ability to love ourselves fully and feel fulfilled in life with anything we accomplish. If your life is about having to get something to be worth something in life, and then as soon as you have it, then it becomes about spending the rest of your life trying to prove that it's yours and that you get to keep it. And then guess what? You die and it's not yours. How fulfilling is that life? How full of self-love is that kind of life? How full of being present and enjoying your life is that life? The answer is not even a little bit to all of those questions. This type of life sends a constant internal message that a person's self-worth and ability to be in their life and be happy or content or fulfilled is constantly in question. And my friends, this will destroy your self-love. It will destroy your creative and motivating energy in life. It will destroy your life fulfillment. It will destroy your perceived self-worth. And it will destroy your ability to create any happiness in your life, because any happiness that you might feel will immediately be followed up by a sense of dread of when will it be taken away from me and how can I keep it from happening. So immediately happiness is gone and it's replaced with fear, defensiveness, paranoia, discontent, judgment. So this, my friends, is why attaching ourselves to the form of our goals is so destructive. It's so unfulfilling in life. And sure, you see people out there accomplishing their goals and being like, oh, look at how successful I am because I accomplished the exact form of my goal. Congratulations. But what they feel successful about is not the form. It's about the feeling that they have there. And I need you to recognize that in going after your goals before you go after your goal. Because that's what's going to drive you there, even when life throws chaos at you, throws obstacles at you, throws things at you which completely change the form of what you're going after. So why do we want to attach to the essence of our goals? When we attach to the essence of our goals, when we take action, we are in charge of what we are creating in life, and the essence of it, no matter what. Because the essence is a value, it's a feeling, it's a choice we get to make. That can't be taken away. And then we trust ourselves to be able to follow through on that until the end. And this means we keep showing up and creating essence no matter what. And we create form along the way. And we create mental pictures of that form along the way. And we take steps to create that form, but we're not attached to it. We're attached to the essence. So if I go after the mental image, the form of the goal, and I don't create that exact form, I still created the essence. My worth is still intact. I'm still motivated. I'm still proud that I followed through on my actions and I did the best that I knew how. And I still created the essence of what I wanted. And now I get to go back through my steps, learn, and see if there's something else that I want to try different to go after the form of that goal again and create more action in my life again. And every time I go through this process, I create more trust. I create more love. I create more energy of creation. I create growth. I create expansion. And I open my life and myself to taking new unfamiliar steps, practicing new things, doing things that are uncomfortable. I am in constant creation, love, and abundance in this space because I'm unstoppable, because it doesn't matter if I make the form or not. If I don't, I'll create new steps and I'll try again. And sometimes in our journey, we even realize that the form wasn't even what we wanted all along. The form was just a mental picture of what we thought it would be, of what we thought it was that we wanted to accomplish. So sometimes in our journey, we recognize that the form changes. And I want to be clear here. This is not because the form doesn't change because our mental picture of the other form was too hard to create. But maybe it's because we realize that the form of what we want to go after is something different. Not easier, just different. And this is important to recognize here because I think this is where a lot of people that are like, oh, no, we have to attach to the form. We need to know the form because that's going to determine whether or not I'm going to be weak and lazy and give up on my goals. I think what people are afraid of here is they're afraid of selling themselves short. And my friends, attaching yourself to the essence doesn't mean you will sell yourself short. Changing the form of your goal doesn't mean that you're selling yourself short or giving up or picking an easier route. And this is important to recognize here. Because yes, what I'm saying here is that the form of our goal can change as life changes. But when we change the form, it's not because the new form is easier to create. In fact, sometimes I may even have to take more actions, more unfamiliar, difficult actions to create the new form. So if you're worried about changing the form of what you're going after because you're worried that you might be doing it because you're afraid to go after your goal, or that you're doing it because you're giving up on the goal, you're selling yourself short of what you can accomplish, here's how you can know if you're doing that. If you find yourself changing the form of your goal because you think another goal is either going to be safer, easier, or more comfortable to go after, then this is something else. This is not about attaching to essence there. That's not what that's about. What that is about is you being afraid of trying and learning more times than you feel like you're willing to learn and try and to love yourself through or to have your back on. So you're picking a new goal that you feel like you can either create easier or sooner, which means that you are actually still attaching to the form if you look at this. Because the truth is here, you're saying that you need the form and to create it to prove your worth and your value to yourself. So I want you to pay attention there because this can be tricky to navigate, like really tricky. And I see so many people fall into this trap and they change their goal not because they found out what they truly want is something different and that what they originally went after wasn't what they really wanted, but it's because they tried for the goal and they didn't get it the first time. And therefore they want to change the goal instead of trying again. Because they think that there's an easier goal out there and they want to hurry up and create something faster for themselves and say, oh, I did it. Look, I created this thing, because they're still attaching their worth and their lovability and their value to creating the form. They're seeing their success and their worth in life as being conditional on having a something that is yours that you created. That is not attaching to the essence. That is called attaching to the form and looking for something that's easier for you to create because you're afraid to go after what it is that you want. So that's not what I'm encouraging you to do. I am saying the form of what you're going after could change, but not because it's easier, not because you can create it faster, because you recognize more as you go after the form what you truly want in life. The essence of what we are after does not ever change during this whole entire process. Even if the form changes. Even if we don't get the form on the first try and we decide to regroup, learn, replan how to go after the same form again, the essence stays the same. Even if we go after that form of our goal 1,000 times, we know we are fully worthy, fully lovable, fully valuable, and fully successful in life through that entire journey, not just when we achieve the form of the goal. This is what being attached to essence means. Because every time we try for the same form or a different form of the goal, we create more of that essence no matter what. And we become unstoppable in creating goals and going after them. So again, we call this process in coaching high involvement, low attachment. The involvement means that we're taking actions no matter what, with as much intensity as we can, and we push past those actions that are uncomfortable. We push through them, the actions that are new to us, that we learn and grow from as we take them. But we do this with low attachment to the form of the picture of the goal that we think we're going to accomplish. Meaning that our value, our worth, our lovability, and our success is not determined by whether or not that form is ever created. And so with this high involvement and low attachment, we actually still have high attachment. But it's to something that is actually an attribute of ours. It's the essence of the goal. Be that abundance, love, joy, peace, justice, compassion, whatever the essence of the goal, we can attach to that. Because we create it as we go after the goal no matter what. Because the essence is a part of who we are. And it's just our way of bringing more of that attribute into the world by going through that journey of creating that goal, going after creation of that goal. We create more and more of it as we show up in our life fiercely and take action in those values, with those feelings that we want to feel and those energies. Those are the essence of us, and we can attach to that. So, my friends, I know this was a very philosophical episode. The point here is this. Have a clear picture of the form. Create it with so much detail. I'm not telling you not to do that. Create the steps of how you got there with as much detail as you can. I'm not telling you to not do that. And then, after you've done that, understand the essence of what you're after, which is the feeling that you think you will feel after you achieve the goal. The core values that drive you to want to create this goal in life. Get clear on those, because you'll start feeling those feelings and creating those values now on the journey towards creating the goal. Start feeling those feelings now as you take your action steps. Create those feelings as you go. Pay attention to how you're creating more of those values that are in that goal as you go. This is the essence of your goal. And then I want you to show up every day with fierce, powerful, unstoppable action. Because you know that no matter what, you already created the essence of the goal. You're doing it. You're just learning how by doing it now. You're learning how you're going to create the form and what that form is going to look like as you're doing it now. Now, my friends, I know this concept can be very abstract, and it feels even more abstract when you just talk about it versus putting it into practice. So, if you're wanting to put this into practice, if this sounds like something that you want to do to become unstoppable in your life, I encourage you to find a coach to work with on this. I would love to be the coach to work with you on this because I love empowering my clients to become unstoppable forces of creation. This is my passion in life, to wake people up to their full power of how they can create the essence of who they are in life, and that their goals are about that, and how to find their genuine and true goals, their genuine and true wants in life, their genuine true values, and how to fiercely show up in their life to become unstoppable forces of creation and fulfillment and love and abundance in life. So I would love to be that coach for you, but if it's not me, I just encourage you, find a coach to work with on this. You can reach out using the links in the show notes. If you want to schedule a free discovery call, my website is in the show notes. In there is a link to book the free discovery call. This call, my friends, it's entirely for free. And I want to be clear that there is zero obligation to coach with me just for having this call together. Okay? So just because we have a discovery call doesn't mean that you're committing to coaching with me. I want to be clear about that. But I will promise you this, that when you leave the call, you will have a path forward that is growth-oriented. No matter what you learn or choose to do or not do with that call afterwards, I promise you that you will be on a path forward after that call no matter what. And I hope that it's a path forward working with me. where I support you in showing you your way to your most authentic and fulfilling life. But if not, you will be on a path forward no matter what, and I promise you that. Okay? So reach out. Use the links in the show notes. Reach out to me, or reach out to another coach if you're not comfortable working with me. That's okay. I just want you to reach out and get help with this, because this is so essential to your life fulfillment, my friends. All right. Essence versus form. Big topic. So much more that we could say about this, my friends. I could talk about this for so long, but I'm going to leave it here with you guys. I'm going to leave it here. If you have thoughts, questions, reach out, ask them. You can find me on social media. All of my posts this week on social media were about essence versus form. Feel free to find one of them and comment there and ask your questions. Reach out to me via instant messenger on Facebook or Instagram. Reach out to me somewhere, ask your questions, leave your thoughts and comments. I want to give you as much clarity on this topic as possible. But I'm going to leave this podcast episode here with what I've had to say. So get out there. Get clear in your imagination about the form of what you want to create. Dream it so big that you blow your own damn mind. Don't sell yourself short on that dream. Dream it as big and as vivid as you can. Create those action steps of how you got that goal. Then lean in, find the essence of you and your goal. Tether yourself to that essence, my friends, and let it be your guiding light. Let it be the energy that pulls you forward into your future and makes you effing unstoppable. Okay? Begin creating something powerful in this world. I look forward to seeing what you create and feeling it in the world, my friends. I look so forward to this. I love you all. And until we meet again next week, ciao. Hey, thank you for listening in this week. I hope you enjoyed the content of this episode. If you did, please subscribe or follow this podcast to receive the newest episodes every week as I bring them to you here on the Connect Your Health to Life coaching channel. Ratings, reviews, and comments are always appreciated. These allow me to know more of what my listeners would like in the podcast and allow for more people who may be searching for a podcast just like this one to find the Connect Your Health to Life coaching channel. If you would like more information about me and the work that I do with my clients one-on-one, then please visit my website at www.slch.ch. Again, that is www.slch.ch. You can also find me on social media on Instagram at SethLusk_coaching. Again, that is SethLusk_coaching. And on Facebook in my free Facebook group community called A Healthy Life Connection. We would love to have you in the group, and it's only 3 membership questions that you have to answer to join. And again, it's entirely free. And if you need any further information or just want to say hello, feel free to send me an email directly at slusk.health@slch.ch. Again, that is slusk.health@slch.ch. Thank you again so much for listening, and I look forward to our next time together. Ciao.